Hi, my name is Anna Thornton. I am the Director of Engineering Quality at Dragon Innovation. So it's been a really great morning sort of listening about all the wonderful things that AR can and could do and all the prototypes. So I'm going to bring you guys down to the ground and the reality of what it really takes to get AR into action. So much of this technology is highly dependent on hardware. And if it's going to get into the hands of the customer and is going to deliver on the financial and performance promises, you're going to have hardware that can be brought to market, produced in volume, reliable, legally sellable, cost-effective. So unfortunately, I've got about 9 minutes to teach you what I typically take our customers through in over a year and a half. So if you can just walk away with 1 or 2 hooks, hopefully when you do get into commercialization, you'll think about some of these issues. So when our customers come, they sort of think of themselves as the process of going through an idea, prototype, you get funded, you go into manufacture, and people think they're about here. Well, the first thing we have to do, and we do a lot of myth busting, they're really about here. The manufacturing process is incredibly long, hard, difficult, and fraught with issues. So what we do at Dragon is we do something as insanely complex as bringing manufacturing consumer electronics, making that feel easy. Usually that's at the end of the time with our customers. During the middle of it, they would say it feels pretty hard. So the first piece of advice that I give whenever I onboard a new customer is one is from my favorite engineer, Scotty. You can't change the laws of physics. Or as my grandmother said, you can't fit 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack. There are going to be limitations on the kind of battery, in the kind of space, the volume, your range, your capability. They're going to be bounded by physics. And you guys are talking a lot about incredible capability. But at some point, you're going to have to instantiate that into product that can be built commercially. The second one is you can't match white plastic to white plastic. There's going to be, and even Apple doesn't do it, there's going to be a whole bunch of rules and constraints that are based on a whole bunch of stuff that you have no idea about. You're not going to be able to do Apple quality at Apple prices on your first go-around. And if you can start to learn why some of these decisions are made about how you manufacture, you're going to not be doing very late design changes or having serious aesthetic issues. The next one is cash flow is a leading cause of startup death. Return on investment, profitability, whatever that is, forget it, cash flow. And cash flow is highly tied into all of the activities, the schedule, the cost, the quality, your materials, your NREs, and everything else. So to detail that out, first of all, your beautiful design product cannot be built. The drawings you have are drawings. They are CAD. They're not drawings. Everything will take way longer than you expect, and you're going to have to do way more iterations than you expect. Your product will not look like what you expect it to look like when you get it in your hands. It will feel, look, sound, have different gaps, different colors than you expect. And you will spend way more money than you think to get revenue. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do now as you're thinking about it around DFM, schedule, quality planning, and cash flow analysis that can avoid you finding these things out 2 weeks before you're supposed to launch. So let's talk about DFM. If you want to do a DFM or design for manufacturability for your typical product, hardware that you're producing, these are the books that you're going to need to read. You don't have time, you don't have the energy, you can't be an expert in all those. So one night I was teaching a DFM class the next day, because I'm developing slides at the last minute, and was trying to figure out how do I communicate this. So after several glasses of wine, I came up with the 10 laws of manufacturing that get you 80% of the way there. So I won't go through them all, but things like screws are bad, but glue and tape are worse. Okay, try and avoid it. Things are easier if you have fewer parts to manage. Weird things happen when material goes from liquid to solid. Things are not going to behave the way you expect. And then know when to break the rules and get an expert in or get advice on where you can push the limits and where you can't. So the schedule. So DFM schedule's next. You want to launch October 1st. Usually people come in to us around June 1st. So a typical process from the time you have a looks like to get to full production is about 46 weeks. You have to start of November the prior year. Except 46 weeks never really happens because you got all these unexpected issues. And if you miss it, you're going to have an incredibly increased burn rate. That can be your margin. Remember, cash flow, leading cause of startup death. You're going to miss your market window, and you may have actually invalidated your sales agreements, or somebody else may have gotten it there. So understanding the schedule and starting early enough and getting a handle on some of these unexpected issues can help on all of these factors. Start thinking through what can go wrong now. Like, I can see everybody holding their electronics, and they're very, very careful. Try handing it to a 14-year-old. My 14-year-old is my product tester. I give it to them, my 14 and my 12-year-old daughters, and they beat the crap out of all the electronics. And it's great. I really learn a lot about the quality. But this thing is going to be dropped. It's going to be vibrated. You're going to spill coffee on it. You're going to be handling it. It's going to go into that bag of a purse that I have. And it's going to be used in new and unique ways that you have no idea how they're going to use it. Your production is going to do all sorts of weird stuff, too. They're going to put the wrong parts in. They're going to test it incorrectly. All of a sudden, your favorite processor is going to become obsolete. You're going to have a strike. Your favorite motor is going to go away. Your cameras are going to be changed. It's going to be packaged wrong, programmed wrong. So you have to start thinking through today, how do you make your product so that it becomes less sensitive? And then there's a lot of legal issues that nobody knows about. There's environmental issues. There's recall risks. There's safety. All the battery regulations, the EMF regulations are all changing almost on a weekly basis. So thinking through what can go wrong now can avoid you a lot of headache. This can bankrupt your company. So when you start thinking about sort of cash flow, the first thing everybody thinks about is, how much are my materials going to cost me? And that's only the tip of the iceberg. Now, it's a huge leverage point, because the more you can get your material costs under control, the more control you have over all of the markups above and beyond that. But you have to think about your scrap, your shipping, your warranty, your profit. Warranty is probably the #1 cause of startups that have made it through to production and that end up dying. You have a higher return rate than you expect. So in terms of what you're actually going to get to in terms of what your profitability is going to be, there's a lot of things that need to be paid attention to. Everybody always ignores your non-recurring costs. You really have to, tooling can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Testing equipment. I've seen testing budgets of $65,000. Certifications around $40,000. So understanding how much those are going to cost and when those are going to come out are really important. So the first thing that you really need to work on is creating a comprehensive bill of materials. Like, what is going in this product? Where are you getting it? How much is it costing? What is your lead time? And what tooling do you need to have in place? Because once you have that understanding of that bill of materials, you can start to look at that cash flow. And again, working capital is critical. You're going to have a bunch of expenses, tooling, long lead components, and there's a big distance between when you have to spend the money and when you start getting revenue. And remember the 8-week push out? You still have a burn rate that whole time. So your working capital, this is the number that really matters. How much are you in the hole before you start to climb out? Now, there are all these little words in what's called the, in your component terms, in your MSA, your material services agreement, that you're going to kind of brush over and say, oh, my lawyer's going to deal with that. They can have dramatic impacts on whether or not you have a viable business. Because depending on if you change your component terms at what's called material authorization, all of a sudden that trough comes a lot later. Yep. OK, 1 minute. Improving factory payment terms can drive it even further. And then getting better deal with Lowe's or whoever it is that your distribution channel is going to be, or Best Buy, that can also dramatically affect your working capital, which can be the difference between making it or breaking it. So you guys always, this is the framework that Bolt uses. We always think about ideation. We go into design and engineering. You start to engage. You validate your design. You go out. but there's a whole bunch of activities around planning for manufacturing, introducing to the manufacturing process, and then managing your ongoing production. And the earlier you can get a hold of that cost, quality, and schedule, you have a much better chance of impacting it the earlier you get. Because by the time you've gotten here, all your cash is out the door, and you've got an inability to have a leverage point on that. We have a whole number of resources on the Dragon website. Please feel free to contact me or reach out to me after this. And we have a number of videos and articles on the subject.
Thanks for sucking the joy out of the room.
Sorry. That's what I do. It's hard. Bring it down.